to Down to Business. Today, my guest is none other than Miss Hellen Zulu Phiri. She is a journalist. She is a co-owner of a production company, and she has many other ventures. So I wanted to sit down with her to find out what she has been up to the past 2 years, and how her journey has been, and what she has in plan for the next few months and years to come. So, Miss Zulu Phiri, welcome.
Yay. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good.
Is everything okay with you?
Yes.
I've not seen you in a long time, so I'm so happy to see you.
Yes, I don't know what's been happening. We've just disappeared and everyone is busy with their lives.
Exactly, COVID.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's get down to business. I think I want people to know a side of you that maybe a lot of people don't get to see. She's one of the most sweetest, nicest people, and if I would say hardworking people you ever met. So and I thought that she would be great. She would be great energy to start our show with, if that's what we're going to call it. Anyway, so Helen, my first question would be, what emotions and adjustments came with the transition of going from being in formal employment to self-employment?
Okay, I always knew that I was going to leave.
Yeah.
I always used to tell myself, one day I want to leave. I'm tired of this same routine every day. I wake up, it's either sometimes you wake at 4, sometimes you wake at from 8, but it's the same thing every week. So there are days you wake up at 4, same shows, and sometimes when you're working for an institution, you are limited to what the institution wants. So sometimes you may think beyond what the institution wants to, and they'll just discourage you. And for me, that was already draining. So there was no motivation, because I love what I do, and so I want you to let my mind flow. Let me think. Because I'm a creative. So sometimes you have ideas, but if your ideas are being disturbed, it kind of just drains you. So you look at that aspect. Then there's certain other things that you were looking at. Obviously, I was in hospital for a while, and I just started thinking. I was like, I'm not growing. It's like I'm stagnant. Like you hit a ceiling. I'm not growing financially. I'm not growing as a creative, as a personality. I'm not growing. It's like I've reached where the NBC can reach me. So I think it's high time to leave. So all I wanted was, I kept telling myself, no, you can't leave formal employment until you have something else to do. You can't leave. I need to push these other businesses that I want to do. So I was pushing a lot of things. But just when that very month, I think, when I went back to work after my maternity leave. I worked for a month, my contract ended. Then when they renewed our contract, I didn't want to sign it. I just wanted my husband to agree with me to say, it's fine, don't sign, because I had nothing to write. At that moment, I had nothing that was giving me income. So I needed him to agree, because I was going to hold the load of finances on his shoulders alone. Yeah, so now when the contract came out, and it was not if maybe the contract was maybe tempting, it was very good, maybe I would have stayed. But then the contract was like encouraging me to walk away. I was like, I think this is a sign, I need to walk away.
Okay. So now the emotions. Let's talk about the emotions.
Yeah.
So were you fearful going from, having your comfort zone to being out there? What emotions were you going through?
Yeah, there's always that debate of, will I miss it? I'm always assured of having a month end. What if what I'm saying won't work out here? So there was that like back and forth within myself. But the stronger part was, you can still do it. That was more of a stronger voice.
Yeah.
So I had to obey the stronger. The other voice was more worried about, you will be getting your monthly pay. You are assured of that monthly pay. But I wasn't satisfied with that monthly pay. I said, you know what, it's better I try. If this is, because I prayed before that. I told God to say, if I'm supposed to be at ZNBC, you give me the contract that I've always wanted. If you don't give me the contract that I wanted, you're going to hold my hand and take me where I'm supposed to be. So when that contract didn't come right, I just said, this is God answering. I told him he has to give me a good contract, and they didn't get a good contract. So it means he's telling me to walk away. I probably have to walk away. And yeah, that was how I transitioned.
So you have mentioned that there were certain projects that you kind of thought about it, like I shouldn't start, I should not start. How did you know that those particular projects that you eventually started with were the ones? What were you looking at? What signs were you looking at? What aspect of the business ventures were you looking at?
Okay, firstly, you look at how your capacity at that moment. So like I said, the other project was very involving. At first I thought it would be easy, but then as we were going forward in preparation stage, I kept pushing the launch date because I couldn't meet a lot of things. Even when I tried to involve people, they were not people that were motivated. So I thought, you know what, sometimes maybe I need to make money. The day I start this project, I already have money to pay people to say, do this, do that, do that. And then maybe we can run with it. So then I went into, I thought, okay, you know what, I used to sell a lot of lingerie, and I've been telling myself maybe we should try to make something of our own. So that's when I tried to get into that. I got into that, and for it was smooth. Not obviously it wasn't 100% smooth, because sometimes you discover things on the way. Like, oh, so we need to buy this, we need to buy that, but it worked. It still worked, and for me that was like, okay, good.
What made it work?
It was manageable within the capacity for the things that I could do at the time.
Okay.
Yeah, and my sister, who is a designer, was there to advise with the designs, and she was also help do the tailoring. And we also had another tailor to just when the demand was high. So that was working until maybe COVID hit and prices were escalating, so we couldn't manage to keep increasing. So for that, I knew it would work, but I always know that a lot of people are thinking, are you stopping media? I was like, no, I'm not stopping media, because that very year I quit. I got to do the red carpet for Ngoma Awards. I was like, this is like, media is entrepreneurship on its own. It's also a money-making venture. Eventually, when you stay there for a long time, you realize it has to pay you, it has to put food on the table. So you start looking at it in a money way, and you start making money out of it, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So eventually you ended up, we have 90s. What's the name of it?
Your 90s.
Your 90s. What else? Which other projects did you eventually like settle down to start?
Okay, so when I started Your 90s, I eventually started my YouTube show called Getting Candid with Hellen.
Yes.
And for that, because I remember we hit an obstacle. When we were about to start, we even had somebody who was ready to put in money. Because we're like, okay, this is going to work, but we need money to run the show. Then COVID hit. Then they pulled out. They said, no, we don't know how. That's the first time COVID hit.
Yeah.
We don't know how this is going to affect our business. So I think us releasing money right now is risky. So we'll have to wait. So we were waiting for them. We were waiting because we didn't know that COVID would be with us even today. So we were all just waiting. And so I just said, you know what? Let's start.
Yeah.
These guys, we don't know how they're looking at their business, but I think it's time we started the show. Yeah.
So now let's get back to Getting Candid with Hellen. You mentioned that there were not so much funds to fund the show because the main sponsor pulled out because of COVID and whatnot. So there was certain money that came from YouTube. Other than that, I know a lot of people would want to know, because it's a production cost. It's not cameras, directors, editing. That costs money. How else were you financing the show?
You know, for starters, because firstly when we were starting, we didn't immediately get money from YouTube. It takes a lot to actually get your first pay. But it was the money from your pockets.
Okay.
That's what was sustaining. And
which things cost the most when it comes to such kind of production?
Okay, you know, for normal production, like everybody else, you have to pay the production crew.
Okay.
They'll charge you for episode, whatever amount they have to charge. Then you also, if you want your show to look good, then there's logistics, there's transport. People have to come to work. They have to have transport. Then you yourself, the presenter, people want you to look a certain way. So you spend on your clothes, wardrobe, makeup, hair, stuff like that. So all those, I don't even think there's something that you can say this is the least costly. Everything is costly on production, and people don't know that. Everything is costly. From the venue you're going to use, if you don't have an agreement with any venue, you'll have to pay for the venue.
How does a typical production day look like?
For us?
Yes.
Okay, for us, typical production day, for Candid.
Yes, for Candid and the company itself, and working together with husbands.
A typical day for production is mainly chaotic in the morning because he's busy making sure all the equipment is charged, all the equipment is available, and me, my job is producing. So he does the technical stuff. So I don't even go there. He does the technical stuff. I do the production. So I make sure the script is done. I make sure my guest is ready. My guests are coming. That's my job. That's my baby. Yeah.
So now, from traditional journalism to the journalism that you're in right now, what are the major differences? And then to those Because I remember one day when we were together, you had a question. Someone telling, I think one of your fans was asking you, they want to be a journalist as well. What would you What would you say to them? So my first question now would be, from the journalism that you were doing when you were, say, in former employment with the institution, to now being self-employed and in 2021, how different is it?
I think it's the freedom to make the decisions.
Okay.
Like for me, that's what I really like. Like the freedom to think, the freedom to just flow and say this is it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what we're going to do. You can change things quickly. You can easily say today let's not shoot from the usual set.
Yeah.
If we have what it takes to go to a different location, let's try to be creative. I think creativity is more open. Yeah, for an institution, because every institution obviously has rules. You really have to, even if you think you're thinking outside the box, but you're also thinking within the box of the institution. It is also diluted what journalism is. I get so pissed when I'm telling you, I get pissed when I see somebody, just because you have a blog and you have 5,000 followers and you call yourself a journalist. I'm like, what do you know about journalism? They don't understand the ethics. They'll write the things. Like when you read it, you're like, no, you don't do this. This is not how you report.
Yeah.
You know, like you don't. I remember I posted about that. I was like, if you want to join a certain field, I shouldn't disrespect people who went to study for it.
Yeah.
At least maybe try, if you're so interested, try to just go and say, okay, maybe certificate shall be just I understand the ethics and just to the basics. But you find that a lot of people, I remember somebody recently texted me to say, look, I did a voiceover, I've done a bit of journalism work. I'm like, oh, what journalism work? Because I need you to help me. I've done voiceovers. I'm like, voiceover is journalism? No, journalism has a lot more than that, guy. That's talent. You can do a voiceover even if you're a lawyer, because you have the talent. God gave you talent. So I think people need to understand there's a difference between interests, talent, and journalism. So a lot of people are thinking journalism is an easy job.
Yeah.
Only because I can have a page and I'll start writing news.
Yeah.
But you should see how unprofessional they get when they're spreading it. That's why there's also a lot of fake news being spread. But even the reporting style, yes, you can modernize it, but you can tell, you differentiate between a professional institution and a fake institution. Especially if you went to school, it's just like pissing you off. Like, why are they disrespecting us so much?
So we still need journalism.
You still need it a lot, because I've forgotten which country we learned that in school. War simply started because of a wrong news report.
Okay.
So if you understand that it's not about being the first to report, but it's about being the one who gives out real content, genuine content, that's more important than being the first one to report. Then you understand journalism.
So now, adding on top of that, you're a mother, and then you're a wife.
Yeah.
And then obviously it's Helen, daughter, friend, associate, and whatnot.
Yeah.
How do you have time for everything?
It's not easy, like sometimes I realized, especially when I just gave birth, I realized that I had forgotten myself.
Yeah.
And then you only realize that when you kind of feel like you're getting depressed, something's not adding up. Yes, I'm just unhappy. But because every time I'm thinking my daughter, my husband, running a home, because yes, you live with other people and they're all looking up to run a home, I started getting stressed. And one day I just said, I haven't been out in a long time.
Yeah.
Let me call a friend just for a chill, even just 2 hours out there is very important. So these days I'm not very, very outgoing, but I always make sure that I need to have time. We don't know the next disaster. I will need to go somewhere.
Disaster, oh my
It
gosh.
was a disaster. Believe me, people were crying. It was bad.
Okay.
But we need to favorite too busy. I told myself,
Okay.
yeah, because Instagram is just, hey, these Facebook people sometimes they turn on you. They've turned on me before, but I still use the app because I like it. But Instagram is so peaceful. You need to.
So who are your top 3 people you like following on Instagram?
You know what? A bit controversial, but I enjoy following the Kardashians.
Okay.
I like they're interesting, and I'm always telling people that if you're gonna hate people, sometimes you need to watch them and see their positive side. Those guys are business geniuses.
That is true.
They're and also they're just fun. Like they share. I like people that are very open in sharing. From Zambia, I like Lulu also is interesting to follow because she's also very open and
Yeah.
sharing. So yeah.
So I want to touch on two. I want to touch on two questions that I would like for you to answer me. One, how important is personality to be your individual self and personality in your business and in your industry and just in business in general?
Personality, like people will be like, especially for media, people will be attracted to you because of your personality. I think, yeah, because they obviously like what you do. Then what will keep them to you to keep following you, and it's your personality. Personality is very, very, very important. But also, you don't have to lose yourself.
Yeah.
You need to know yourself, but you also need to understand that you are just not you alone. Like Helen, there are people that follow me and they expect certain things from me. It's sometimes tough because we think, oh, you're expecting too much from me. But you have to understand that that's a field that you went in. You are in the public eye, so there's certain, to some certain extent, the public has a say about your life and stuff.
Yeah. So you heard that, guys. God took the wheel with Helen, and I'm so
Yeah.
glad that you came. Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for having me.
I hope you enjoyed our time.
I did. I
really hope-
did.